Go Pizza presents SCP. The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle and Adam Wilde.
So we're very excited to bring on a friend of the show and a new friend of the show, Ken Reid, Dennis Maruk. Thank you so much for coming in today, guys. Give a round of applause. You can cheer for yourself too. It make it sound bigger. Yeah.
Bucks and Deep, quick start.
That's what I do. Yeah, Bucks and Deep.
And we obviously have this new book. It's called The Unforgettable Story of Hockey's Forgotten 60-Goal Man, and that would be you, Dennis Maruk. And we got to talk about a bunch of the stories in this book and all of that. But first, I want to get your thoughts on something. According to Barstool, the 2019 Winter Classic will be the Blackhawks versus the Bruins at Notre Dame Stadium. That is breaking right now.
I mean, I'm just glad the Blackhawks got into an outdoor game finally.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh
my son went to Notre Dame.
Finally someone's thinking of the Blackhawks.
Yeah, son went to Notre Dame senior year. Yeah.
No kidding.
Played at Notre Dame.
Played at Notre Dame, yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
that must have been cool to go to.
It was great. It was great. I went to a couple football games, and the Michigan game was unbelievable. I can't believe how you get 95,000 people in that little South Bend, Indiana town. It's unbelievable. But it was a lot of fun. We had a great time.
I always wonder with that many people in a stadium. I wonder, does it feel like when you're back, like you're like last row, and I've sat last row for like Steelers games, and you're like, this is terrifying. Like there's so many people on this. You almost want, like, it's like that, in San Francisco where during the World Series, the stadium,
the earthquake.
Yeah, like it almost feels like, how does this not shake? How can this many people be in this one little spot?
Well, it was shaking the night Rudy Rudiger took it over.
Yeah.
So you guys don't know the Rudy movie?
No, man. We were born in 1988.
I was telling Dennis before we came in how young you guys are. Rudy. You never heard of the movie Rudy?
Oh, sorry.
Rudy.
No, we know. Yeah, we know.
No?
I know, but
The
I
guy,
don't know.
the kid from Goonies, Lord of the Hobbits, whatever it's called, he was Rudy Rudiger. So Rudy Rudiger was a kid who walked on Notre Dame back in the 70s. And he was 5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing, as they said in the movie. And he was on the practice squad for 2 years.
Kind of what they said about me, right?
Exactly what they said about Dennis. And he made the team, and they dressed him for a game in his senior year, and he made a sack, and they carried him off the field. Come on, guys, you got to watch Rudy.
All right, watch it. Watch it. Actually, I watched it years ago, and I was giving on another podcast I do, I was giving Sasky Stewart hell for not watching it. So I need to get back and watch. It's been a long time.
You're a hypocrite.
I know, I'm terrible. If she finds out, I'm in trouble.
All right.
Ken.
Yes.
You love to tell stories that are,
Good.
with all your books that are good, that are great. But they're also the stories of, one of the books, the first time we met, the book you were talking about is guys that played one game in the show. Mm-hmm. And this is an interesting story because who can forget somebody who scored 60 goals in an NHL season? And what's amazing about it is that, how many people have ever done it?
20?
Yep, 20.
Not
20.
many.
20 players.
And Dennis, you're
I
one
was
of
the seventh player to do it. Yeah, so I was...
Wow.
Which that makes it even more impressive.
A couple of years ago.
So the guys to do it before you, Dennis, were who? Phil,
Oh, jeez, I couldn't...
Bobby Hull,
Phil
Guy
Esposito,
Lafleur,
Bobby Hull.
Steve Schutt, Reggie Leach, Wayne Gretzky, and Mike Bossy, and you did it. Yeah.
How did this all come together?
Do you want me to say it?
Yeah, you go ahead.
There was another... I met another fellow and talked a little bit about my stories. And then he said, yeah, you should do a book. And I go, nah, I ain't got to do a book. Why do I need to do that? And so he says, I got to introduce you to this other guy, Ken Reid. I go, well, who's Ken Reid? And he started telling me.
He's a really good hockey player.
Fancy suits.
I said, okay, let's meet. We met for lunch, and I figured it'd be about an hour, and it ended up being like 5.5 hour meeting at lunch, and put his little recorder on and started telling him stories, and I said, okay, let's do it. And we just worked together.
Right there on the first meeting.
Right. Pretty much, yeah, right there. And then just kind of like just went on and on I thought about it for a while when I first met the other fellow that introduced me to Ken. But, and then when I just got I started telling the stories, and it was pretty cool. The ones stories that are personal were tough to talk about, but I think it was good to let them come out. Yeah,
we met at the MasterCard Center, and I knew who Dennis was. Right, I'm a hockey card geek. I'm a hockey history nerd, so I knew who Dennis Maruk was. But I also know when guys name the 60 goal scorers, they get to the end and they're trying to think, and sometimes Dennis doesn't. His name's at the end. So the thing was,
don't even get it.
We met at the MasterCard Center, and the Leafs were kind of just wrapping up practice. And I remember it was either one of the Leafs trainers or one of the equipment men was there, and Dennis was over talking to them. And he introduced Dennis to his friends, who were obviously hockey guys. They go, "Oh, this is Dennis Maruk." They go, "Dennis Maruk." And the trainer goes, 60 goals. They go, "Oh, yeah, the 60 goals, 60 goals." And we sat there in the MasterCard Center. Nobody bothered us. And we just went to lunch in the cafeteria. Nobody bothered us.
Yeah.
Now, if you're sitting there with Guy Lafleur, who scored 60 in a season, or anybody else who scored 60 in a season, you're probably going to get bothered.
I went to a lacrosse game with Dart Guy, and we couldn't move.
Right. So I love these stories of guys who slip by the
I was a
radar.
lacrosse goalie.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So I love stories of guys whose stories should really be told, but people don't necessarily know. It's like getting that uncovered nugget. So to me, Dennis is a huge part of hockey history, total sniper, and people need to know his story. So if you got a know-it-all uncle out there, get him this book and say, "You know this, Uncle Bob?" Because I bet you Uncle Bob, if he's really good, he'll know it. Yeah. But if he isn't, he'll read it, and then he'll be a big know-it-all to all his buddies, because then he'll really know it all. But it's a great story, and the other thing that got me about it, I didn't want to write a story about guys who scored 60 goals. I wanted to write the story about the man who scored 60 goals.
Exactly. There's so many hockey books out there where it's just, I was a very good hockey player, and let me tell you about how I was a good hockey player.
Yeah.
Right.
But your story goes so much further beyond that.
Well, we
right?
wanted to, when I came up with the of the 60 chapters, 60 goals, and I'm 60 years old. I'll be 62 on November 17th, but same day, same year, Gordon Lightfoot. November 17th.
There you go.
There you go.
Do you guys know who Gordon Lightfoot is? Okay,
I went to see him. He goes, he's at Massey Hall every year in November. I went a couple years
and
ago.
I read a lot of James Patterson books. Like I love his books and the author James Patterson. But and so I wanted to write this book that way, because the autobiographies, you're like, I started, as you said, playing hockey at 8 years old, and I didn't want that. They're boring. I wanted something that was kind of twists and turns and short chapters, and that's what until you want to read it and not finish it.
Well, the point of an autobiography too is to get to know the person,
Right.
not
And
the
that's what's
career.
from.
Right,
No.
Right.
In that book, there's not much, I believe, about hockey, about my career. It's about stories and things I did post career and all that. So we kind of twisted them all in
Beers
there.
with the boys.
You're out on the road, all that kind of stuff.
And that's all the
then-
money stuff.
Yeah,
Right?
you know,
That's what we want to know.
There's some
Nobody
good-
talks about
There's
it.
the good stories in there, but they're not. There's no names. I'm sure the players will know when they read.
Oh, that was me. Yeah.
It was me. Oh, yeah.
There's one, the one I like in there is veteran advice, where the guy tells you to get a prostitute when you're a rookie, and you're going, "What in the hell are you talking about?"
Well, I did mention his name.
We didn't mention his name.
I don't know.
No, we
Yeah,
didn't. We didn't.
But
That's probably good.
Yeah.
well, yeah. He was a famous player, and it was like it was my first year really, and he was playing St. Louis, and we had a big party in Oakland, and then he says, "You're a good hockey player," and I said, "Well, thanks. You were great." And it was kind of his end of his career, and I said, "Yeah, I'm getting married," and he goes, "What do you get married for? You know." You don't need that. You know, you just end up with a prostitute.
Oh,
Just pay
my
her
God.
some money and, and pay her a couple times. Next thing you know, you don't have to pay.
Roughly what
And
year
I go,
was
wait
this?
a minute here. I was 20 years
75.
I was 75,
okay.
70. I was 20 years old, and I was kind of like taken back a little bit by, because I didn't know much about it. I got married. Don't worry about it. But
You'll probably bump into him thinking he's going to give you advice like how to score goals in the league.
Yeah.
You should do this with your backhand.
you know,
he should get a professional
I
prostitute.
have bumped into him.
Yeah?
He's changed. He had a rough time. He's changed his life around, and I did mention that to him. We just chuckled about it.
That's all you can do.
All you do is chuckle about it.
It's
a
funny.
story.
As an older man, I've heard that you pay for your sins when you're younger. So so I'm looking at your Hockey DB page right now. So your total career. This is your online hockey card, and you were one of the few players, maybe the only one, who played for both the California Golden Seals and the Cleveland Barons.
Ooh, yeah.
and I think you came into the league with the California Gold. Could you tell us a little bit about? And I don't want to wreck anything that's in the book.
No.
But what was it like playing for the Seals?
Well, it was I was drafted by them, so it was a chance, an opportunity to write in and play in the NHL. They were not a real strong team. If I was drafted by Montreal or a top team in the league, I might not have had that chance. And I went to camp and made the team. Luckily, I was told I was too small. I was going to be in the minors and all that kind of stuff. But it was fun. I was 19. I got to go to Berkeley. I got to go to San Jose. I got to go to San Francisco. You know, and I bought a '73 Corvette. You know, the last year they had the bumpers and all that. You know, and I had my name on the license plate and all that. So I'm driving to Nimitz Freeway, and I just had a great time there. But then
Won a lot of hockey games, right?
no, we didn't win a lot of hockey games. No, and then they moved the team. I'll go on further. Then moved the team to Cleveland after that 1 year, and we were all shocked because
they'd barely really given it a shot. Too,
they
right? It was
tried
4
to
years?
build a rink in San Francisco. At that time was Mayor Moscone, who rest his soul got shot a year. They voted against it, 13-3. So they had to move the team, and they ended up moving it to Cleveland in that summer. And
Wow.
It was, it was kind of tough because
Bit of a change.
Yeah.
Jeez, I never knew that story.
Yeah. So it was a challenge, and it was we went through some tough times in Cleveland. We didn't get paid for a month, and so
That's a thing?
Yeah,
That can happen?
That can happen, and
In
then,
the National Hockey League.
We think it's just the KHL.
Yeah,
No.
So we were kind of wondering what it was really tough there, and then all of a sudden we had a situation where Buffalo was in town, and they told us in the morning skate that the team was going to fold, and we're going to go on a draft. All the players going to go on a draft, and so we went out and partied all day, and because we figured we were going to say goodbyes to each other, and we had no insurance. The only way we were going to play if we had insurance,
Right.
cover us for injury or whatever. And so Alan Eagleson called our player rep at 4:30 and said the game's on.
So by 4:30,
Game's on 4:30. We're pretty looped up, pretty good, you know. And then one of our players, Ralph Klassen, we ended up getting him at 10-7. And the game was at 7:05, but we lost 6-2. It wasn't bad.
got your close.
Yeah, Buffalo was in town. They had to wait to hear. They couldn't leave. They had to wait to hear from the league that the game was on.
That's beer league hockey.
And
That
that's
is
how
hilarious.
So
I
that's
would love
kind of
footage of that
I went
game.
through all that kind of stuff, and I had a good year. I mean, my numbers were pretty good and
were.
everything, and so I just thought that at some point in time I was going to get to a good team or a contender or whatever.
Team
and it
that
was
paid.
yeah,
Regularly.
team that paid. But then of course the Cleveland Minnesota merged. That time, and we finished the year, and Minnesota merged, and they told me that I was going to be Lou Nanny, the GM of the Minnesota North Stars, told me that he was trying to trade me for a first round pick because he was going to keep his centerman. They're already there, Bobby Smith, Timmy Young, Glenn Sharpley, and I said, well, that's fine. Do it in the summer so I don't have to come to Minnesota and all that. Well, there was no trade. And then he says, come to Minnesota. People are going to love you here. Well, my lawyer was Alan Eagleson, and I called him. He says, no, just go there, rent a house. There's a couple teams that are looking to get you. Well, of course, first game I didn't play, and I dressed, and second game I was when it all happened.
Yeah, because it says
Yeah.
here that you were two games.
right? That's
no
it.
points.
I think
I didn't. I dressed, but didn't.
The
didn't
bonus
play.
was your
I
wife
one
showed
shift.
up.
I one shift, and I asked Harry Howell was a coach, right?
Yeah, Hall of Famer.
Yeah, Harry Howell. But he was leading into my wife was driving our cars, and her sister was driving their cars to Minnesota, and she arrived at let's see. I got told at 4:30 I was traded. There was a game that night. I had a suit on. I was getting picked up. She arrived at 4:45. Oh. Until I had to tell her I got traded.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was kind of all in that little short period of time.
Turn
And
the
I had to
car
leave
around.
so I had to leave the next day, and Washington was. I found out from the Capitals. I didn't find out from the North Stars. The Capitals called me, and you figure that.
Oh, you got
the
a call
North
from the
Star-
team that got you.
Yeah. You figure usually the team that
Trade you.
they tell you first.
Yeah. You think, hey,
And I go,
thanks for
"Wait a
your
minute,
service."
Yeah, we just received
You're
your
ours now.
services. I go, well, wait a minute, I haven't heard from. And then then Luna called me
great
after
prank
that.
call.
So it was all that.
The Leafs should just call up Drew. You're not playing tonight.
So it was kind of like, it was real frustrating, and then but the Capitals were great. They flew, they took care of the cars and everything, and flew my wife, and it was a really nice situation when I got there. So things worked out pretty good. But we also had the Save the Caps campaign, so it was another frustrating time there in Washington. The team was not very good.
It sounds like the early part of my career is just every place I tried to work and do highlights. They're like, guess what? You're laid off. Or like, we're just going to fold as a company. So you mentioned that you were told you're too small and all that. I'm looking here on your hockey DB. It says you were 5'8", $165. Is that even? You think that's generous?
When I first came in, I was 158, I believe, my first year pro. That's what I was my last year junior. And then
Johnny Gaudreau before it was cool.
I kind of put on, I put on a few pounds in the summer. I put on about 15, 20 pounds, just drinking and eating a lot of food and just doing things that
The healthy way.
Yeah, the healthy way. Just doing things that make you put on weight, right? Because I knew I needed to get heavier. And conditioning wasn't a big thing. Working out was not a big thing. It was come to camp, whether you're 25, 30 pounds overweight, you're going to get in shape because we skated a lot, didn't play a lot of games. A lot of, during that time, there wasn't a lot of exhibition games, whereas you're playing, the third day in camp now.
Right.
And so, and then I ended up being about between 170 and 175 my career. That's what I was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy
After
smokes.
that first year. Yeah.
So, and I think this is where the story really sort of takes off. And Ken, you must have looked at this as the guy that's helping to write this book and go, okay, Washington is where kind of this takes off for you, Ken. When you were putting this together, is it kind of like do you look at the stats and go, okay, like how do you start this story?
It's a fascinating hockey card. Yeah.
Well, 60 is it's the focal point, right? But 60 isn't the story. So when I'm sitting with Dennis and we're getting around to writing the book, first thing we start talking about is, of course, the 60. And then our conversation just kind of goes. And then Dennis gets into, when his career was over. And he says, I was coaching in Lake Charles for a bit. And then, we were running out on boats to serve oil rigs in the Gulf of Mexico. And I'm, whoa, stop.
Yeah,
what?
wait, what?
And so Dennis has this big, gigantic story about basically being a sailor and deckhand in the Gulf of Mexico for 6 months.
First chapter of the book.
Of the book. And I think, how many 60 goal scorers were deckhands in the Gulf of Mexico and were piloting a ship in a storm in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico 15 years after they scored 60? And I'm thinking, probably zero. Then Dennis starts, and I said, well, what else did you do? And I think it's around chapter 34. There's a chapter about Dennis being the farmhand for John Oates from Hall & Oates.
Oh, my God.
And I think,
really?
And I think, how many former 60 goal scorers were farmhands for John Oates?
Or farmhands at all.
Or having a cigarette with Goldie Hawn.
Yeah. Wow. Delivered furniture to Goldie Hawn.
In Aspen.
Set up Kevin Costner's wedding.
Yeah, exactly,
Shoot the breeze with Kurt Russell, who actually played one of his coaches, Herb Brooks. And all these stories start coming together, and I'm going, this is so awesome. Then we get into what really happened after the career: anxiety, depression, wondering who you are.
Where are you going?
Where are you
going?
do? What are you going to do? And I can relate to that. I've got anxiety. I've battled depression. So we kind of connected on that. So all these stories start coming out, and then we kind of go, oh yeah, the goals. So all these stories are kind of interspersed around this guy that scored 60 goals. Now, if you know hockey, you know Dennis scored 60 goals. But kind of like hockey card stories, there's so much more than just what you're seeing on Hockey DB or the stats you're seeing on the back of the hockey card. So all these stories are coming at me, and I'm going, wow, this is a book. So it's up to me to arrange them in such a manner that they kind of flow. And it was funny.
And he did a great job.
Thank you. But Dennis mentioned how he liked his stories to kind of come in and out, intersperse in and out. So when we were doing the book, one of the editors goes, for some reason, chapter 34 is about John Oates. It just kind of shows up. And I go, And I go, it's kind of like Seinfeld where all these different things happen and they all come together at the end.
Right, exactly.
So there was all these great stories, and it's like my brain was, and it was just racking. So I think we probably ended up getting about 20 hours on tape.
Yeah, the tape. Probably.
And so then I would connect hour 3 with hour 8, and
we go back and forth with each other.
yeah.
No, I need this. You need this put in there, and then something else changes.
Yep.
You know. Then at the end, I had,
And
I had
then
the
at
heart.
the end,
At
you had quadruple bypass.
Quadruple bypass. So I had to, which didn't know about, and all that kind of stuff. So I had no symptoms. But
A year ago
here we
right
go.
now,
So
a year ago right now, Dennis calls me and goes, I got some news.
Yeah.
What? He goes, well, you tell the story.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What about the heart?
Yeah, I gotta go in and get my chest
I
ripped
did a
open.
disability claim in the state of California, and so I had to go down there and get tested for it for their doctors, and then my lawyer's doctors. So, and they sent back a disc of 80 pages of medical terms. Well, I'm so smart and a hockey player, I'm going to read those medical terms in no way. And so I took it to my doctor, and he looked at it and called me back a few days and said, you have thickness, the left side of your heart. I go, no. Do you have chest pain?
I haven't felt in there recently, so I don't know.
You have chest pains?
Yes, I do know.
Yeah.
And what?
Well, and you got chest pains or you have shortage of breath. He says, no, doc, I feel great. So he says, well, we better get it checked. I said, okay. So 3 months of getting tested in Toronto here, EKGs, all the heart murmur tests, all that. They couldn't find anything. So we said we better go a little further and find out what it is. So that's when we did the angiogram where they shoot the dye in there, and that's what they found. They found December 10th is when they did it. They found 90% blocked, 4 of them, and so I went in at the end of January, and they took the arteries out of my wrist, arm here, and put them in there in my heart, and I got probably 20, 30 years left of my life, so I'm doing pretty good.
Wow.
Doctor said I could go try out for the Capitals again.
Well, I mean, they need depth.
Get in shape, me go. I says, what? He says your heart's going to be great, so. I don't have to see them for a year, the cardiologist or the doctors. And that's how I found out. I had no symptoms.
That was an amazing phone
no
call.
symptoms,
Yeah,
and that's what the phone call said. Well, here's something else we can put in there, at the
By
end.
the way, we have a new ending.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I got a great the girlfriend.
Yeah.
We had to put the girlfriend in and all that.
But I went to the hospital 2-3 days after your surgery.
Oh, I look pretty good, eh?
And I'm thinking, wow,
That's not
My
invasive
kids
at all.
were
No.
crying. Dad, you look terrible.
yeah, I'm thinking, wow, I'm going to be promoting this book on my own because
Wow.
you
Yeah.
could hardly move. And then I saw you a month later, and he's Dennis Maruk again.
No, it's
Well, and 4 days
unbelievable.
ago, he played 4 hockey games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's what people don't think I should be playing. I go, what do you mean? I feel fine. I
It'll
feel
look better
great.
than I did.
Yeah,
It's probably better, and probably better that you're playing
He
rather
actually
than
looked
sitting around.
better than you did the day I saw him in
No,
the
but
in the hospital after the surgery.
but you dangle better than I do. I maybe skate a little
that.
faster, but
I
you
don't know about that.
okay.
So I gotta ask. I
Yeah.
mean, so you guys all played that charity hockey game. I
Right.
guess it was late last week.
Right.
Can we get a scouting report on Steve? Steve, sit down here. Jesse's going to replace the cameras.
right,
we need
all
to get
right.
the scouting report on you.
Okay.
Anything to
I'll
avoid
go
this
ahead.
part.
And then Ken, he was first line,
First line.
power play,
Wow.
penalty killing, and water boy.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think it was pretty good
And he
selfie
blocked-
taker.
Right.
And he blocked a shot.
Okay.
I don't think he scored.
No,
He might have gotten
I
an
didn't get a
assist.
shot on goal.
But the greatest thing about Mr. Dangle here is that I respect for him. That was the first time skating.
In a hockey game, yeah.
Hockey game with equipment on. It's not easy.
No, it's not.
No.
And especially when you're older. And I've worked with older people that have just started playing hockey, and it's frustrating, but it's great to see to go ahead and try and do what we did for many, many years, starting on 8 years old. But I recommend he was the highest fundraiser.
Absolutely.
For
Moose Power.
For Moose Power.
Moose Power, and that's awesome. And for Easter sales, that's great.
I will say I respect Steve and I respect Andy Knapp, who also played in the tournament for the first time more than anybody else in our team. Takes guts to go out there. Look, I've been playing since I was 8. I stink, and I'm not that much better than Steve. But it was
come on now.
yeah, that's
You
true.
had style, though.
Yeah, I
you
got
had
a
the
good
Jofa
bucket.
helmet.
Yeah, I
you
got
had
a
the
good bucket.
JVR mouthpiece just hanging out the entire
Yeah, I
time.
look good.
Do you wear the face shield or no?
No, come on.
No.
Ken, you're a TV personality.
I know, man. I
I'm
got
gonna
fake
have
teeth
to-
as well.
yeah,
Me
there
too.
There you
I know.
go.
But seriously,
Yeah.
I think what Steve did should be an inspiration to anybody
Yes.
else out there. Strap on the blades, try it, and when you can try it in an environment where you're helping out Easter seals, you're helping kids with physical disabilities, and you got your great listeners here that are contributing. I mean, without you, our team raises hardly anything. So thanks to you, thanks to your listeners. But I think I respect guts to go out there. I mean, if you came up to me right now and said, hey, I got a pickup basketball tournament. Ken, you want to come play in it? No, I'd be scared to death. I'd be scared to death. So respect to you for coming out.
See, Ken, you're tall enough that you could be a real factor in a basketball game.
I played on my high school team. We were 0-18.
We were 0-18?
We were 0-18. We were horrible. And I was not a starter.
Yeah. You be
That was me in my high school rugby team.
you be calling me, and I'll be Spike Webb.
That's right. Head coach was Bob Cooper. All he wanted was a minimum
Atlanta,
of 4
wasn't
head fakes before every shot. If you did that, he was good.
What high school did you go to?
Pictou Academy.
Oh,
Yeah, they threaten to close it down every year, but then the locals get nasty and they keep it open. Yeah.
Canadians get very protective. Protective of their hockey, protective of their Pictou Academy.
Pictou.
I think the juniors or the public school I went to was 50 years old when I went there, so it's probably like closer to 75 now.
Right.
Joseph Howe?
No, Centennial Road.
Oh,
and it probably had 150 kids in the total school and was well past its prime, and the neighborhood had outgrown it. But every time they tried to shut it down, the parents got together and signed all the petitions, did all the fundraisers.
Exactly. Well, Pictou Academy is 202 years old.
I'm older than you guys, and my public school is still there.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Pictou
Rexdale.
Academy's-
I lived in Rexdale. It's still going.
Still going? We're 202
and the high
years
school,
old.
the 7th and 8th grade was Heatherbury, and it's still, it's a new name, but the school's right there. It's and then I went to high school, West Humber Collegiate.
Here's how illustrious Pictou Academy is, and this
grade.
is a note for you guys. Drake Kajula of the Edmonton Oilers, his grandfather, Art McDonald, taught at Pictou Academy. Wrap that one around your head.
No, Nova Scotians.
Of course you would know that, too.
Nova Scotians are like Italians. They all know each other. Like it's like, oh, Nova Scotia. I know you through somebody. I do.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's amazing. So
Like Greeks, too.
Greeks too, for sure. Greeks all know the other Greeks.
I'm just going to stay away from this stereotyping conversation.
Wow, come on.
No, he could be like, Steve Irwin, Nova Scotian. somehow he was Nova Scotian.
The croc hunter?
Yeah.
So, Dennis, I got to ask you, working with Ken all the time,
Right.
what's he like to work with, to partner with on something?
Other than
Question out of my
annoying.
mouth, man.
Oh boy, I don't know if I got the exact word for that, but I think that
Is it 4 letters? You can swear here. It's okay.
no, not 4 letters. But when you meet with someone that for the first time and you don't know, and then you're telling stories, you kind of like, well, maybe I should be telling this guy some stories. I don't know what he.
And this guy works for Sportsnet. Is this
Wait a
going to be on the
minute,
news?
where's this going? How far is this going to go? And then, the more times we met, I felt a lot comfortable around just saying anything that I did, and it was really neat. I think the connection probably after the second time we met, it was really strong. Because I was able to, when we're going to meet again, I was able to just keep saying more things, more personal things that were, some people will never say about their personal life, and it just got me to be real comfortable. And then when we started asking questions, I just felt really at ease with them, and I think it just was a great connection to work together on this book, and that book right there does not come out strong from Ken Reid. He really put that whole package together. I said the story, said a few things, but it's, that's why he's a powerful writer. I don't know what he's like on Sportsnet, but I mean,
He wears
good.
He wears a suit well. That's for
Ivanka
sure.
really carries
You're
him.
so much nicer than
I watch the
Ivanka.
show a lot more now than I used to, so there you go. But no, he's just a great man, and I respect him
Thanks,
for
Dennis.
all his stories, and I know he's written a few books now, and maybe look forward to the next one. But he's
Canadian
just
best-selling author.
so he's done really well. But it's really been a pleasure getting to know Ken, and I've done a few events with him now, so it's been great.
Ken, I got to ask you, with this book, and this is not your first book, this is not your second book, so you kind of get the idea of what it's going to take each time, right?
Right.
What is it with this book that you think, where your growth was and what you're most proud of now?
Well, this is my first autobiography, right? So I had to write in somebody else's voice, which was a challenge at first. The other thing was we had to go back over some stories. As Dennis said, we learned to trust each other as this went on. So I'd go over stories again because Dennis would be able to put a little meat on the bone and give me more details. And, maybe at the first meeting he said, and then I had a tough time. But then the third, fourth meeting, I go, what was the tough time? Bring me to that tough time. So I just Man, it was a challenge. It was because when you're writing your own book, it's easy. You know the details,
You were
right?
there.
I was there. When I'm writing Dennis's book, I got to get all this stuff out of him. And like he said, at first, we don't really know each other. So he's kind of just given, I guess, maybe a just generic media interview.
Right.
Whereas by, I guess, 18, 19 hours into the taping, I mean, I talked to his, I talked to his sons, his daughters, his ex-wife, his ex-teammates, his ex-buddies from growing up. I talked to maybe, 20 other people just to get a shape of who Dennis was. And there's some quotes at the head of every chapter from other people we talked to. And, I mean, I don't know. I was, like I said, we were with him. We were together in the hospital 3 days after he had open heart. So you connect and you become friends. Ideally, I think if you want to give an accurate representation of the person, which I hope I did. I think one of the nicest comments Dennis gave me so far, and he just gave it to me about an hour ago, and I said, "Did your kids read the book?" He said, "John read it. John's Dennis's son," and he said, "It was great, wouldn't change a thing." To which you said, if anyone was going to be critical of it, it would be John.
Definitely, yeah.
Wow. So that was nice. And I must say, this man has the nicest kids you would ever want to meet. John, Sarah, and Jay Lee.
Right. Thank you.
Oh my goodness! Just the nicest kids in the world. I'm literally talking to John on the phone just in my backyard, and John's got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. I got a kid who's about to be 5, about to be 3, so we can relate. But Dennis's family's going through stuff as you're writing the book, so there's all kinds of stuff that's happening, and it was a challenge, but it was a fun one, and it was a pleasure to work with a guy, and I'm so glad that his story's out there because this is a guy who should be appreciated for what he did. What is it, 878 points in 888 games?
That's correct.
That's pretty massive, and I don't care what era it's in. Somebody had to score the goals, and this guy, as I learned from a lot of ex-players, would go into some big boy territory to score some pretty nasty goals.
Well, I was looking at some of the players who gave you testimonials and stuff, and there's some big names in here. Here we go. So you got Phil Esposito, Wendell Clark, Dennis Savard, and Marcel Dionne wrote your foreword.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, how do you know these guys? I mean, besides just as a player.
I played against them, a lot of guys, and then I've done a lot of different events with players and all that, and Ken had contacted pretty much all these guys, and to read their comments, you have a lot of respect for them, but also what they said about me. And I think that goes a long way, and that I realized that, hey, I must have been not a bad hockey player. I must have been okay because I was always told I was too small to play in a big man's game, and to hear comments from these great hockey players means a lot to me. That I did something as a kid, made it, and I have a lot of respect for all the guys that say it. They're my teammates, my peers, all that. Yeah.
There was a great quote from Eric Lindros, too. It didn't make it onto the back cover. I wanted it to, but Eric basically said what a lot of people said. He said, Dennis showed up at my alumni things. I love Dennis. He's such a great guy. He's great with the players. I didn't know he scored 60 goals. Then I found out. I was like, whoa, that's coming from a Hockey Hall of Famer, Eric Lindros. I'm paraphrasing, but...
Did not play that long after you did.
Yeah.
No. Eric probably would have had Dennis's hockey cards just like every other kid.
Exactly. Yeah.
What is the reason that this is a forgotten 60-goal season?
The reason? Well, I think that if you, as we mentioned earlier, I mean, there's not, when you do talk about the 60-goal scores, my name does not come up, unless you're maybe in Washington or something, but it really doesn't come up. And I've been in conversations with people and trying to get all the names of the players that have done that. I think what happened was that I was in an era and then with teams that were not really successful or didn't get a lot of exposure. So I am the unforgotten 60-goal man. When you bring up a 60, as you said, they'll talk about the Gretzky, Lemieux, and
Solani,
Brett Hall, Solani, and all that. My name does not come up at all. No,
and when you score 60 and you're 32 behind the league leading goal scorer.
Right.
Yeah, you scored 60 the year Gretzky broke the record.
Got 92.
Set the record, 92. It's unbelievable. Gretzky was a good season of goal scoring ahead of 60.
Yeah.
You know, I used to when I go to the airport and go to fights and stuff, and I wear hats sometimes, fedora hats, and not all the time, but I dress black a lot. And when I go in there, I go to recognize. I go, "Where's your musician? Where's your instrument?" They think I'm in a band. It's unbelievable. I go, "Oh, no, I'm a hockey player."
You should travel with hockey sticks whether you need to or not.
I am a hockey. No, they're already down. You know, they're already in the underground and with the bags. But it's kind of funny that I get asked to be you must be a musician. I go, wait a minute here. You know, I'm a hockey player.
Well, I'm with those guys.
You don't look like a hockey player. So I get that a lot. And it was just, that's just the way it is. I mean, you can accept it.
It's appropriate how your book starts. Yeah, Daddy-O, I'm Dennis Maruk.
As we're on the Gretzky thing, can you bring up the time you big league Gretzky when your brother brought him to your house after your rookie year?
Oh, yeah, that
was awesome.
I was of course, lived in Rexdale, and we went to West Dummer Collegiate high school, and Wayne was there delivering awards. He's good friends with someone else that was at the school. So I was at the house, and my younger brother brought Wayne over, and he was already playing, and I said, well, I'll see you on the ice, kid. You know, that's what I said to him in the backyard.
Gretzky's 15, 16.
That's what I said. I was kind of cocky, you know. I was only playing. And he had,
by the way, you got to pick up the book just for Dennis's mustache, by the way.
My mustache, the Fu Manchu.
It's meaner than Clark's.
So, and then Gretzky, and I think at one time, I played against him all my whole career, and he says, you don't have to hit or you don't have to fight or stuff like that. Just go score goals and make plays. And I looked at him, I go, are you going to start fighting now? So I'm not going to change my game because you told me I have to change it. No, I've been successful the way I play, and that's the way I am. So that was kind of cute. I was that I think I won the face-off too. Yeah.
That's important. It's funny. Marcel Dionne is the guy who writes the foreword for this book, and you could argue that Marcel is in a similar position to you because to me, Marcel Dionne is the forgotten 80s. 70s and 80s superstar because he was a stud in the 70s too.
Yeah.
But the second he left Detroit.
Where did he play? Played in LA Kings.
The LA Kings pre-Gretzky. So
pre-Gretzky is a very important distinction. No one cared.
I mean, you talk about a guy, he almost had 60 goals. There was one year he had 59.
Right.
When you played against a guy like him, he must have just been breathtaking to watch.
Well, I broke his record in junior.
You did?
For
the Knights?
3 years, I broke his record.
For points or?
For 3 years, points, total points and that. And of course, he played 3 years in St. Catharines and all that. So he already kind of knew a little bit about me. And so then I got drafted by California Golden Seals. And as I said earlier, that I had no contract. I was too small. And the first exhibition game I had was against LA. And I played against him a lot, a center. He's a centerman. And I ended up scoring 2 goals. And I think I was first star, And the GM and president tapped me on the shoulder, said, when we come back to Oakland, you're not going to the minors. We're going to sign you to a contract. So I was kind of like, 30,000 to sign, 30, 40, 50, and I'm 19 years old. That's big money.
Yeah.
75. You guys don't know that, but that was a few years ago.
A lot of mustache grooming products with that money.
Well, you bought a Corvette in your first season.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I had some money and gave money to my parents. They wanted a pool. So, that was kind of a neat thing. But he just was, what he wrote in there, when you get a chance to read what he wrote, it was kind of like, he was my idol. My favorite hockey player was Bobby Hull growing up as a kid. But Marcel Dionne was my idol because when you said we were similar type players, we played in organized teams that were not really well publicized or out east or whatever. They were kind of on the back burner. But look what he did in his career. It's unbelievable. Never won a Stanley Cup, and the numbers on that man, what he did. But
1,771
crazy.
It's great. I do a lot of different events with them and have over the last few years. And just a wonderful man. He deserves every award because what he did in a team that was not successful, really.
And he has 49 career playoff games.
Yeah.
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 They never really got beyond the second round.
People forget too.
Jay Bomeister before it was cool.
Yeah.
Jay.
People forget how good that 75, 76 Kings team was with him and Rogie.
Yeah.
Or 74, 75. It was a really good team.
Yeah. So, just a great man. And I respect the great comments he said about me. It was
That's
great
amazing.
about us, like we're two pit bulls.
Yeah.
They two pit bulls. Right?
You ever,
they never stop. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, along the lines of you being a pit bull,
Yeah.
was there ever a situation where you're like, I bit off more than I can chew here? I maybe shouldn't have picked this fight.
No.
No, not at all.
No, I don't
That
think
from
so.
a man who cross-checked Wendell Clark across the forehead.
I got.
And you still got him to comment on the book.
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit. Wendell's a great. I've done a lot of things lately with Wendell, but the first time when I moved back to Toronto 9 years ago, I got involved with the NHL alumni and went in there and said, I moved back to Toronto, I'm in town. Anything you got going on, give me a call. So I did one little event, and then the next one it was with Wendell, and I had to meet him. And we were in a bar, and he was in the stall tables, and he's already there, and I'm walking in, and I go, oh, what am I going to say to him? I cross-checked him, well, a little too high, and he got a few stitches, and I got 3 game suspension. I had to go to the league, and that's what it was. But I was nervous, and I didn't know what I was going to say.
And Wendell never got to play against you again after that cross-check, I should say.
We won't get into the game. We won't get into the game and all that kind of stuff. But because we had a back home and away with Toronto, I was the North Stars in Toronto. But and then I walk up there and I kind of look at him and I go, "Hey, how you doing?" And we shook each hand, and he says, "Listen, I just want to apologize for getting." He says, "Don't worry about it. That's okay. That's the way the game was. That's the way we played then. Sticks were up high, all that kind of stuff."
Above the eyebrows.
I know I probably stick to you too. Crash that. Don't worry about it. Let's have a beer and have fun. And that's what it was, and I kind of and I was, because I did get my stick up a little high, but you had to do things like that because I was beat up. I was a target. I was a goal scorer and playmaker and all that, and I was abused. There wasn't too many games that I didn't come out where my body was sore from being slashed, cross-checked, or whatever. I still produced, still had to do the same thing, but I gained a lot of respect. If you look at my penalty minutes I've had,
700
I
plus
had some
there,
pretty
my
good
friend.
penalty, and they weren't misconducts. They were like, some fights and some, cross-check or spearing or slashing back to the guy that did it to me, but it gave me a lot of respect and a lot of space, and I'll say one comment with Bobby Clark after we were both retired, and I did an event with them here in Toronto, and he came up to me and he says, "Hey, you little," I don't know if I can say it on the PR.
Can you? You can say it, sorry, in the podcast. You can say
You're
that.
quoting him.
I'm saying, well, he says, "You little prick," and I kind of said, well, I said, yeah, well, so are you. Because he'd spear you and I'd spear him right back. And he said, well, you know what? Every time we played you, we had your number 21 on our board in our dressing room circle. Get him. He's going to score goals. If he doesn't score, we're going to win the game. All that kind of stuff. So
And the Flyers back then were just shy of a prison gang.
Yeah. So, I mean,
They wore orange and everything.
Hear that from a Hall of Famer, a great player that I played against, Bobby Clark. And it's kind of, geez, I guess it wasn't too bad,
Yeah.
But I had to do that. I had to give it back. Otherwise,
They'd walk all over you.
Oh,
You
sure.
prick is a compliment.
Sure.
Well, that is,
Yeah.
if I may.
Exactly. Sorry.
I think, is it chapter 8, Dennis?
What was that? Sorry.
Chapter 8. Learn to be a prick.
All right. that was my buddy Dave Hutchison. I played in Chicago and played in LA too, with the LA and Chicago, but in the Leafs. But we met in London, and he said I had good totals in junior, and I said, well, I can score, I can make plays, but really, what I got to do to make it there? He says, you got to be a prick. I go, oh, okay, what do you mean? He says, well, even in practice, teammates, you got to hit the guys. You got to hit the best guys. The coach is going to want to say, well, here, and then on the ice, when you have an opportunity, you might fight the odd time, but, I mean, you got to hit their best guys. You got to hit them every chance you get. And so then they see you doing that, and they go, oh, geez, that's pretty cool. So, yeah, that's what I did. I just kept going from there. Yep.
who was, and we know
Okay.
who the best players are in the 80s and the 70s, right? We know. Who was the guy that you were like, okay, when that team comes up on the calendar, that guy gives me a little anxiety. That guy is one that's going to be tough to contain. You're a centerman, right? So
Right.
you got to be
Centerman,
back for
yeah.
all the
I'll
defensive.
centerman.
You're the
Right.
one that's got to tail these guys.
Right.
Who's that guy that you're like, every time, man, I hated playing him because he was so good?
I played in different eras. So, I played against Phil Esposito
Yeah.
and Bobby Orr and all those guys. That was their last. Yeah, who? Bobby Orr, yeah.
Holy mackerel.
Follow those famous
Okay, I
Roger
get you
Bill.
guys not knowing Rudy, but Bobby Orr.
Come on now. That's why I mentioned Phil Esposito. You guys know. Okay.
Yeah.
But I went through the crappy times, the Broad Street Bullies, and then it was the Islanders. They were so strong with
Trotz,
Bossy,
yeah.
Trotz, and Gillies, Kirk Gillies, and then it was the Oilers. I was North Edmonton Oilers, and so there was two guys that I have a lot of respect for, but they were chippy and dirty in their own way. A lot of people didn't see that. Was Mark Messier and Brian Trottier. A lot of people, but you see as an outsider, you don't see the on ice stuff that goes on, and they
Trottier
were
would have been
so
somewhat,
centerman. Mark played center too. They were so strong and powerful. They were tough to play against. I could play against Gretzky, I play against, but those two guys were so hard and mean and tough and chippy and dirty in their way, and I had a lot of respect because they were so hard. And I know it was just tough to play against them, and I think each one, especially Trottier, has won every award except a Grammy. So I think he got a lot.
And he still got some.
And he's a great singer, too. And maybe he could win a Grammy one day.
And so, but I have a lot of respect, and I've been with them in events and done things. So those two players are really the players I would say that were the two toughest players that were great players, but two toughest to play as a centerman. Yes,
Trotz was going to write the forward for the book, too. He's got a lot of respect for Dennis.
Yeah.
They're good buddies. And
just didn't team up.
yeah, and it was funny you brought up the Spectrum. One thing I never asked you about the Broad Street Bullies, what was it like going into the Spectrum against Dave Schultz? And,
The Philly flu.
yeah, I never asked you that.
Yeah, I think it was real. And some players, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, I got the flu. Can't play.
Oh, so they
or
didn't
I got
wanna
a
play
bad
the
back
Flyers.
or my bad arm. Yeah. And I guess because I enjoyed it because of how I played.
You're like a pig in shit.
I was
You love
scared going in there? No, because they knew I was going to hit. We'd have brawls. The Capitals and the Flyers, we had brawls in there. And I remember there was a picture in the paper in the Philadelphia Spectrum. We had a brawl, and here's me. I believe I'm grabbing a hold of this one guy, and I'm going like this. And you know who I was trying to hit was Bob Daly. He's about 6'6".
Yeah.
God rest his soul.
So you're
He
hitting him.
passed-
Giving up almost a foot.
I was gonna say
rest
Ben
in
Wilson
peace,
or
Bob.
somebody like that.
Well, he passed away
Yeah.
not too long ago. Great man, but it was like. Okay, wait a minute here. Yeah,
Mismatch.
David and Goliath. You know what I mean? I'm trying, and I'm going up here, and he's looking down about 2 feet. What are you doing? You're like trying to hit me. But that's what it was. I mean, and you say the Philly flu. I believe yes, it was. There were some players that just couldn't go in there and compete because of how they were, and they were just a team. They were real strong, family. Together, all those guys are big, and even now today, they're close, still close.
There was just a bond
They
there.
were just a bonding there that with Freddie Shiro and all that were there. They're just a bond. It was great, yeah.
And I have to ask this as a Leaf fan. You grew up in Toronto.
Right.
Rexdale. You grew up
No,
watching the
Rexdale
Leafs.
boy.
You
Yeah.
saw the Leafs
Yeah.
win the Cup.
Right.
You saw that amazing run they had in the 60s. Do you remember what it was like coming the first time and playing in Maple Leaf Gardens?
I grew up when I played youth hockey with the Marlies, Minor Bantam, and then Junior B Waxers and all that. We practiced at Maple Leaf Gardens.
Unbelievable.
So we got to see the pros when I was growing up, and that's how I used to like when Chicago would sit behind the glass and net and there and watch Bobby. I'll take a slap shot, and that's who I liked and all that. But it was just to come in. My first game was in Toronto, and goalie was Wayne Thomas, and my mom and dad there, and my brothers and sisters, my friends and all that were there, and I scored my first goal in NHL in Maple Leaf Gardens. So it was pretty special. Yeah, it was pretty special. And but we, as
it's not just a new phenomenon. Everyone gets their first goal.
Yeah. But everybody that comes in, a lot of people don't know. Everybody that comes in Toronto, and I've always said this. I believe I'm not knocking the players on the team today, but. And I like where they're going. I think they're a great young team right now. They're fast. They're talented. Of course, every team needs certain things, and the same with Toronto Maple Leafs. But if they bring their team, I've said this many, put their team 75% of Ontario-born players, they'll start winning the Stanley Cup. Why? If you come, the visiting teams that come into play, who's first, second, or third star? An Ontario-born player playing on the other team.
Want to put on a show?
They put on a show.
People
when
are
they
going
come
to roll their eyes, but it's
Greg's has been saying that for years.
When they build this team around Ontario-born players, and I like where they're going now. I've always cheered for Maple Leafs. Even I tried to get traded. And Lou Nanny wouldn't do that because it was the same division, Norris division.
Oh.
He said, "No way, I'm trading to Toronto." I said, "Well, that's where I'm from. I want to play my last few years in Toronto."
Yeah, you and everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. And it never happened. But I've always cheered him on, and even when I was playing in the pro as a kid, and all that kind of stuff, and I still cheer him on. I cheer for Capitals, of course. I have to, and Dallas Stars. But I'm a real strong Maple Leaf fan, and always will be.
Who in the NHL today reminds you of you?
In the NHL today? That's good. I haven't even thought about that. But
who
I would
punches
say
8 inches up?
Well, no, I would say any of the players that are tough and gritty, that are small. One guy, I think Johnny Gaudreau plays, but he's not chippy like I was, but because it's more wide open today. You're not going to get the chippiness, smaller player. But I kind of like he is, and the little domey boy, and plays kind of a chippy, but he can't do it because he end up in the penalty box all the time. But if he could do it, you're going to find even better player. Because he did that junior, get more space and everything. But so I think you'll find different. So I would look at guys like the smaller players in the game today that have speed and finesse. That's kind of what I was a playmaker. A lot of people talk about my goals. I set up many goals. I was a playmaker. I had almost 600 assists.
Set up Dangle the other day. If you could have finished a couple off.
Yeah, so I look at things like that. Playmaking was a big. Getting assists is just as important.
You got an assist on my goal the other day at the Easter Shoes.
That's right.
When I went top shelf.
How was Ken's? Because making the pass is one thing, receiving the pass is the other. Right? It's the cradle. How's Ken on that? Stone hands? Or?
Ken's got good hands. There's no doubt about it.
Feet are a little slow.
Well, you haven't skated that much, so that's got to work on his skating a little bit. But he's good with the puck. He played defense a little bit, and
a little bit,
a little bit of defense and forward. I think he's probably better on defense.
I would disagree, but that's okay.
Okay.
But we have to.
What are you talking? Ken Ovechkin Reid is better on defense?
Well, he kind of stood around there, but he didn't know. We have to teach him how to skate backwards a little bit. That would help.
Fair.
I think. But I think the hands are still there, and he scored a goal, so it was fun.
See, Dennis,
the hands never leave you. The hands never leave you.
No, they're always there. Yeah.
He didn't spend as much time on the bench as I did, but there were a bunch of times where our team struggled a little bit.
We sucked. We sucked.
But guys would get back to the bench and they'd be like, Dennis gave me a look.
Dennis gave me the glare.
You'd set them up perfectly and they'd completely whiff on it, or they'd send it at your feet.
I'll name names. Mike Freeman gets the puck right in front of our bench. And I just go, Maruk. Dennis is so wide open for a breakaway pass. So he carries it from our blue line to the other blue line. Then he looks. Dennis had to stop on the other team's blue line. Then he makes the pass.
Yeah.
Get the man in motion.
Well,
Let's go.
I think I was a little too far ahead at the times, So it was a challenge for you all. Because the teams that we played against
were good.
We're a bunch of Shawnee tryhards. Let's just say it. They're trying way too hard for a charity tournament.
No, it's just hard for y'all because there are teams and our other teams that are like that. That there's players that raise a lot of money and they want to play the game. They don't play a lot, so it really it's fun. If I was that type of person, I'd be frustrated, out there playing because what can I do? I can't do too much compared to these guys skating around me all the time, and it's not really fun. So, organizers should maybe look at. Talent for talent. What the organizer of each team is saying. Well, I've got a stacked team.
Level.
I've got a level A team.
We level
should
suck.
play against. Well, we have a level D.
Well, I kept waiting for the call and I never got it. So
we're level D.
Next year we need to bring a
I'm a good
squad.
first pass defenseman, so it would be.
Did you play D?
I played D.
Oh my God, Adam's coming next year.
Okay, I think
You're
your
on the
first
team.
First round pick.
Yeah.
I think he's a first rounder. Kid.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dennis, this is going to come across as the dumbest question you probably ever
there's
heard.
no dumb-
Hey,
No.
this man
I'm
did
still
20
here.
hours of interviews with me. There are no dumb
No
questions.
dumb question.
Okay.
All right, no, that's negative. It's positive.
It's
Go
okay.
ahead. Yeah.
Did you keep all your jerseys?
No,
You didn't.
I had a few of them.
Did you like
and-
the Seals, the Barons?
Yeah,
do you have any of those?
And one of the Barons is in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Oh, cool.
It's in
Oh,
there.
is that-
It's kind of neat. Yeah.
So it's preserved
all-
in the right place. That's cool.
Yes, it is. And my 50-goal stick and my 60-goal stick are also there. The jerseys that I had, I'm not a guy that keeps a lot of things. I never was. A lot of guys, some guys were, and I just did my thing, and I had jerseys. I gave 2 away to charity. I think I asked my son if he wanted one, and he said, "No, Dad, I got enough stuff." So I donated that one. I sold one, and then no, I don't have any jersey that I wore. My son's got sticks of Gretzky, Bossy, Lemieux, everyone you can think of. He's got about $500,000 worth of sticks.
Wow.
Famous hockey sticks.
Holy.
Yeah, in a bag. It's unbelievable. And baseball bats and gloves. I did it all for him. I did it when he was, when he was young. And I did it. I don't need those things. My thing is what I did. And I'm proud of that. I made it to the NHL where a lot of kids have that dream and don't get their chance, and I got my chance and made it.
I would just like to see an original California Golden Seals.
Yeah, I love that
jersey.
old Caps jersey too. I think that's really underrated with the Stars. Whatever happened to the All-Star jersey from '82? Now that was a disco funky kind of jersey.
I do have an All-Star jersey.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do
Okay.
have the All-Star jersey. Yeah,
So you're an NHL
yeah,
All-Star.
yeah. Number 20. I was number 20, as a matter of fact.
Well, tell the All-Star story, Dennis, from
That's
'82.
the one with the stars and
the stars and all that. Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah.
cool. Okay.
What's that?
The
Yeah.
1982 All-Star Game is in Landover, Maryland,
Right.
home of the Capitals.
Right.
The last man introduced
Yep.
is this man right here. Comes out on the ice. It's on YouTube. Standing O. So, and that's kind of what the book was all about. You know, you go to lunch with President Reagan. You're the king of the 1982 All-Star Game, and then you're a deckhand in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. These are stories. These are stories that do not happen to everybody.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
there's
yeah.
some bad ones too. Yeah.
Yeah, toast to the town.
Yeah.
You might not have kept a lot of stuff, but you got a lot of stories. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what the
Kept
book's
our
for.
jersey from the other day, though, right? From our
I
big.
can't, do you need it back?
No, it's yours to keep.
I'm framing that thing. I'm
You
framing
gotta-
that.
You got to frame
Yours to
that. You
keep.
got to frame that. Yeah. Yeah.
Framing it. I'm going to be like, I had 3 face-off wins.
Yeah.
1 clean to you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Didn't get hurt. Didn't get hurt. That's my most important thing
Get
when I'm
hurt, fell
done.
down. I almost wrecked myself on the bench.
You're
actually.
talking to an idiot who wears a
I remember
Gretzky Joe
that.
foot.
Yeah,
No,
that was a good one.
Yeah, that when you missed the
one on
bench.
the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah, missed the bench. He fell.
can move fast,
He
though,
did
eh?
fall down. You didn't almost. You did fall down. He was flat down on the back by the bench.
Did you jump the
Yeah,
boards at any
footage.
point, Dangle?
Sorry?
Like, for a shift change, did you jump the boards at any point?
Oh my God, no.
Okay, we're going to do that next show.
Yeah, he never
Yeah,
jumped the
well-
boards. That'd be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I
see
wanted
that.
to give it a shot, but I also didn't want to slice anyone's neck or
Yeah.
be responsible for any
There
stupidness.
was a guy, and you might remember this, Dennis, Mark Lofthouse. He
Mark
played for
Lofthouse, I played
your
Capitals,
Caps.
yeah.
He was a big sniper
Yeah.
in Hershey.
Yeah.
Were you playing the night in Vancouver? He got a hattie, but one of the guys jumped the boards, and he had his gloves off. Guy put his
I didn't
skates
see it, no,
through his
yeah,
fingers
yeah.
in Vancouver, and Lofthouse is from Vancouver.
Yeah.
Blood
remember
everywhere.
that.
He's semi-blacked out. This is in Hockey Card Stories 1.
there you go.
They go up, they stitch him up. He goes out and snipes the hat trick
Yeah.
for a start.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, and a week later, they sent him back to Hershey.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, he was up and down.
Wow.
Good man.
yeah.
He was a good man. He
Yeah,
was
I
a good
guess,
player. Yeah,
little
but
bit.
that happens.
Oh, my
That happened a lot of the time. During that time in Hershey with Caps, we went through a lot of different players. It was like, it's a circle. It was tough.
but they saved his fingers and he got a hat trick.
Wow.
I was going to say, what's the worst injury you ever got? But I'm going to bet nothing beat open heart surgery.
I would say no. I shattered my kneecap.
That sounds pretty bad.
I had a MCL done in my early career, 78, I believe it was. And then in 88, I was playing for the North Stars. Herb Brooks was our coach. And I slid out to block a slap shot. My shin pad moved.
Oh.
Shin pad moved. And
Were they even plastic at this point, or were they still leather?
a little bit of plastic.
Okay.
I think you're right. I think they were leather on the knee part. But it rolled like the puck. Grant Lydiard shot the puck.
Oh.
And he was playing for Washington too. And I slid out. I was at top of the circle. And if you got the puck up higher, it would have been fine. I had no problem. But boom, when I got hit, and at the Met Center, it's lower, so you walk up stairs to go to the dressing room and all down the main level. And that's what happened. I went up, dressing room, they opened up my shin pad, looked at it, put some ice on it, and he said, looked a little swollen. Doctors looked at it, and I went down, put my equipment on and go back down the steps to go to the rink. Well, I put my right foot down, then I put my left foot on the step, and I just fell right down. Right to the hospital, and they opened up, and it was all shattered. Put it all back together, pinned and wired it. Took about 6 months. Then they tried to take the pins and wires out, go back playing, and I just wasn't comfortable with it. And that's when I retired.
Can I give you guys a quote from the book?
Please do,
From
yeah.
Brian Bellows, chapter 44, Ouch. This is about when Dennis blocks the shot. This is Bellows. I remember him blocking the shot. We were all like, what the is he doing? Guys just didn't do that back then. And they didn't. There was one or two guys on the team that would block a shot. Craig Ludwig and his giant shin pads would for Montreal.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, that's what like Herb Brooks says. They're a good guy, a goal scorer, blocking slaps, blocking a shot, killing a penalty. What do you mean? What's he doing?
Yeah.
So that's what it was.
Wow.
I can't believe you even tried to block a shot with those,
So that-
like you said, leather pad. The puck hit me. We joked blocking a shot. I didn't even mean to block the thing. It just happened to hit me. But
You
with
didn't feel
today's
it.
equipment, you're RoboCop.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's one of the problems
Yeah.
with today's
Yeah.
games is you are RoboCop.
You're too indestructible.
You
eh?
are too indestructible.
And then your
If you're not
injuries.
afraid of hurting yourself, then
Yeah.
you're definitely not afraid of hurting anybody else.
I know we keep I know we're running out of time here, but I have to ask
We
this
got all the
question.
time in the world.
Yeah.
Herb Brooks.
Yes.
You played for him.
Right.
We all know the 1980 speech that he gave. Was
Right.
he that inspirational all the time?
Oh, I believe he was. I think it was more towards young players.
Okay.
When he became a coach in the NHL, it was a little different. And you're talking with man on man. You're not talking man with boys,
Right.
Young men. So I think that's what his success was totally different. And I'm sure that any young player that was involved with that would say that was unbelievable. The whole miracle on ice, the whole thing, and I was watching on TV as well, and it was just great. It changed the way hockey is today. There was not a lot of conditioning before that in the NHL. There wasn't. And I think it changed the whole outlook of the United States hockey, their strength and everything, how they became, and as well as the Canadian players and that how important it is to be strong, to work out, get ready for camp and all, and go do that throughout the season. And that's where it really changed. And he got them working that strong and powerful and working out and things like that. And that was a big part of how they could compete against the best Russians. And I believe that's why they won.
That was something
conditioning.
we talked about
Yeah.
at the draft party. Was I'm trying to sound all smart, and I'm like, my friend and I looked at some statistics, and in 1985 is when goalies stopped sucking, and that's really when the game changed. And he's like, well, I think it's when hockey players became athletes. After Miracle on Ice.
Oh yeah. You heard about that smoking in the dressing room and all that kind of
Oh
stuff.
my God,
Yeah.
Mario Lemieux between shifts or
Well,
whatever.
no,
just-
everybody. I mean, our coach come in.
yeah.
Our coach would come in and after the first period, and he'd want to say something to the team. Now there's only maybe 5 or 6 of us in there. Where's the rest of them? They're in the bathroom in the other room smoking.
Unbelievable.
Oh, guys are smoking. Yeah.
Wow.
I think it was true. If I not remember the story, but Big Al.
Yeah.
In Maple Leaf Gardens. I think it was Brophy was coaching him, and he wasn't playing well, and he sent him to the end of the bench where they have the seats right beside the bench, the spectators, and it was open, and he sat on it. He told his trainer to go get him a cigarette. and he lit it up, I believe, right there on the bench.
He used to light his smokes with his blowtorch for curving sticks.
He doesn't smoke anymore. No.
Can I just bring it back?
There you go.
Okay, this is Dennis being modest again. So he mentioned he played for Herb Brooks, but this is Dennis being modest again. And this was kind of like doing our interviews. So he'd say, yeah, Herb was great. But I'd say, well, tell me more about Herb. You're basically talking to a guy who was the de facto assistant coach for Herb when he was injured after he blocked that shot. So Herb kind of says to Dennis, you can take it over.
Well, yeah, I kind of like, because, you got the games and that, so you're pretty much, so I would go into before the game and it's probably he'd come in at 5 o'clock and I get in about 5:15 and sit down and we talk and he'd ask me to look at different things for the game, help him out, look at the other team or in between periods come down and tell me and all that. So I'm sitting there and then all of a sudden I looked at him. I go, "What's the matter?" He goes, "Well, I'm just waiting for a phone call." I said, "What kind of phone call?" "I'm waiting for Lou Nanny to call me to tell me who's playing." I go, "What do you mean who's playing? You're the coach." "Yeah, I know, but Lou Nanny's the general manager. He's the one that is going to tell me who we're going to play," and that's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Whoa.
So certain guys, if you weren't playing, if you weren't playing well during the game, guess what? You weren't playing. Because Lou Nanny's going down. So they had a hard time working together.
I would imagine.
Lou Nanny. Meddling.
That was the success of Minnesota hockey. Lou Nanny was involved. Herb Brooks was involved. A few other named gentlemen were involved. And Mariucci. John Mariucci is famous. And they always said, can these two guys work together?
Answer was no.
And the answer is no. Exactly. I was involved with that and all that. So it's, but that's just how he operated there's nothing wrong with that. It's just how he operated his team there. And that's, maybe other teams do it too, but that's the way he did it. And that's not, is that right or wrong? Who knows? But
it was what it was.
Yeah, exactly.
And you played with Dino Ciccarelli as well?
Ciccarelli, yeah, I certainly did. Yeah, great man, yeah.
Yeah, another guy, one of those, I think, unsung guys, undrafted and signed as a free agent and became one of the best goal scorers in the entire league.
Yeah, one of those guys in the conversation of best to never win the Cup.
He did probably have the best black book, too.
Blackfoot.
Yeah.
I think I know where you're going with that.
We're playing with Dino at Paul Coffey's Easter Seals tournament this weekend, too.
And that's in Kingston, right?
Paul's tournament's in Vaughan.
Oh, it's in Vaughan. Okay, because I know Paul's going to be up there in Kingston for hometown hockey on Sunday.
Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's more than one of these tournaments.
Right.
Where are the next ones? And if any of the locals want to play, where can they play?
Well, after this one, the next one's in Oakville. Brad Mays, and that's 16th, 17th.
Just Google Easter Seals charity hockey.
My birthday, November 17th. I'll be on the ice. Yep.
There you go.
The next one after that is in Kitchener, Cambridge.
I think
Ricky
so, yeah.
Vives.
Ricky Vives, yeah.
Yeah, 21st, 22nd,
So
or 22nd, 23rd.
just Google Easter Seals charity hockey.
Yeah.
You can sign up or you can donate.
Yeah.
Money goes to kids with physical disabilities.
Right.
Who doesn't want to help kids with physical disabilities?
Really.
So Dennis spends a lot of time playing in those
Right.
tournaments. I do the odd MC gig for them. It's a lot of fun, and I mean, for these guys, they get to see their old teammates, right, and tell some war stories. And
to give you an idea of like the charity that you guys are helping out.
Yeah, you're connected to it.
Yeah,
awesome.
my family went to Easter Seals camp when I was younger. My sister has physical disabilities as well as some other things. And when we went to Easter Seals camp, like it was a rare opportunity to do things outside of our own house as a family, just like any other family. It was an extremely rare thing, but it was so fun, and they really made all the kids feel included. They made the siblings of the kids feel included, which is what I got, and they showed the parents a good time. They had like a casino night and stuff like that. It was great.
Right.
So if you're helping out that sort of thing as well as much more.
That's great.
It's a good time. And you get to humiliate yourself around NHL guys who can actually play the game. I know I just go out there and I don't belong here, but it's a lot of fun.
He didn't give me any looks. I got a wink.
I'm doing a charity event in Houston, Texas, December 2nd for Hurricane Harvey.
Amazing.
Raise some money, yeah. We're doing a hockey game there. Yeah, it's funny.
There you go. We got some Texas listeners. I'm sure they'll come out.
So it'll be good. And and then I've got November 10th, I'm at the Expo coming up.
Yeah, we're at the Sports Card Expo
Friday at 5 to 6:30.
at the International Center Sports Card Expo.
That's
where
right, yeah,
me and
yeah.
all my geeky hockey card buddies go. So Dennis and I will be signing books there.
Signing books, come on down.
How much money will you be out at the end of that day?
My wife is a frequent listener of your podcast, so
Is
that's
she actually? I'm
no,
sorry.
but that's the only question I'm going to decline to answer today.
and also I got November 25th. I have a launch.
Oh, November 25th.
5th and at the Bottom Line from 4:30 to 7:30. The Caps are in town. Caps are playing the Leafs, so we want to have all those Capital fans that live in Toronto to come down to the Bottom Line between 4:30 and 7:30. So I can buy a book, get an autograph. I'll be there.
That's right.
As well as Leaf fans can come too.
And hopefully Ovechkin doesn't score like he always does against the Maple Leafs
Right.
because
Completely.
he just
He
tears
scores
them
against
apart.
a lot of teams, doesn't
Well, he does, but it seems like the
Doesn't
Leafs
have
are
to be
his
just
team.
the Leafs. No.
No,
That
Nathan
man-
Walker, hat trick in
no,
overtime,
that guy-
Saskatchewan
The guy can score anywhere. Yeah, he's just
Unreal.
a great scorer. Strong man, yes.
When he scored 65, did
Yeah.
he break your record?
Yes, he did.
Son of a
Yeah,
gun.
okay, yeah, thank you. But he won't. He's already told me he's not going to touch the other record. There's no way he's going to. I get the total points.
Right, 122?
136.
No, 136.
Yes, and he said, no one's going to touch your 76 assists. He says, you're going to have that record. That's yours.
That's nice.
So that was kind of nice, yeah. And I did follow. They did, when the year he did beat me, I think I had the record for 20 plus years, whatever, for most goals. And they were going game by game with them, with me, and we're identical. You know, how many goals we had, like in the 55 and 50. It was like identical games and all that. And then, and of course, I was skiing. I was living in Aspen, and they called me and said, would you be interested in talking, or if he breaks the record? And I thought they'd bring me down. I thought they'd say, come on down. Well, there's another unforgettable.
Exactly.
Well, who's Dennis Maruk coming down to honor? What did I do before? You know, before he get the 65, you know. So I didn't have, I didn't get it. I got a phone call. Oh,
Jeez.
Thanks.
What do you think of Gretzky, not Gretzky, Ovechkin tying your record? Well, I've been following him for the last month. Of course, I think it's great. I'm cheering him on.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Yeah, I'm cheering him on. And then when they called me next day and an article they're out, I says, yeah, that's great. And then over the years, I said, well everybody's asking me, how come, didn't they invite you down? Didn't they give you some kind of help with the recognition of the two guys, the old and the new, or something like that? And I says, yeah, right. So I never did. So it's kind of like a lot of things that goes along with the book about, the recognition. I mean, am I pissed at it? No. Am I going to, do something about it? No. I just, if it ever happens, great. So
You're better than me, I'd be pissed.
I'm more, I did my thing. If I get recognized for a certain thing, it'd be great. Like Ken, we talked about my dad, who's 93 years old, and he's I hate to say it, he's all skin and bones right now, but the brain's still there, and it's just like any time. And so that's kind of the recognition. If I get recognized for something, it's to my parents for what they did for me all along, and that's what I've tried to do. I know I talked about a banner in London. And
London Knights haven't retired Dennis's number.
And
he's one of the top, 3 scores of all time. Corey Perry broke your record?
Yeah, but he did in 4 years.
And Dennis had 3. And London Knights still haven't retired his numbers. Listen, read these stats out, Adam.
Okay, so first year, this is after you played the Marlboros, you played 8 games before, so you must have been like 15 then.
Exactly.
So you're 16 years old, 59 games, 46 goals, 67 assists, that's 113 points. Next year, 69 games, that's 47 goals, 65, 112 points.
Get this.
And then last season, and this is the crazy one, 65 games, 66 goals, 79 assists for 145 points, and 53 penalty minutes to boot.
Yeah.
That is
Not bad. For a guy who was too small.
350 points or 360 something points in 3 years.
Yeah.
You know how many London Knights fans I've had come up to me when they heard I was writing this book or wrote this book, and they go, why isn't Dennis's number retired in London?
Why is it?
We
Don't know.
I should ask one of my relatives. He's a season seat holder.
They've asked the Knights. The paper in London did a story, and it's just the way it is so far.
It's what I've heard is their possibility of doing a renovation there, $11 million renovation at the whatever gardens they call it.
Budweiser?
Yeah, and they're doing a Hockey Hall of Fame kind of section. I believe that's where I'm going to be going in. That's the last I heard, but I don't. If they call me, great. But as I said, it's for my parents and my dad who's not doing really well. So yeah.
Rodney Dangerfield of hockey. You get no respect. But
No respect.
You want to give him some respect.
I respect it. I know there's no respect. It's just certain things in your life you want to say, well, geez, I really did do that. And people did see that. And people did honor me. So, yeah.
If you want to find out more, you can buy Dennis Maruk, The Unforgettable Story of Hockey's Forgotten 60-Goal Man.
Yeah.
It's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon.
I got to give you guys credit.
Yeah.
I did when I came on to talk about One Night Only last year. The Dangle Navy, as they are known. Is that
Yes.
correct? Mm-hmm. On Amazon, they ran out of my books because so many of your listeners bought One Night Only. So
That's
if you guys
crazy.
can
Buy the books.
do it again for this book, I'd be honored.
It's a great read. There's
It is.
good.
It's good. It's fun.
There's I'm not embarrassed. I tried to commit suicide. There's no doubt about it. And I came 5 feet from going in the cliff of the Grand Canyon in Utah. So there's just all those things that happen, and yeah, there's great reading there. There's great stories off the ice. There's stories in there about famous people I've met. Broken marriages, meeting a new girlfriend, and enjoying life again, and my daughters becoming my best friend who can kind of really control my life to be a better person in life, and to respect the people that love you. And it is a really easy read. Mm-hmm. So buy the book, enjoy it. And I think you will, yeah.
And there's Hall & Oates in there as well.
Yeah.
Goalie Hahn, Hall & Oates, all those famous people. Neil Young, yeah.
Gentlemen, it was an absolute pleasure having you on
My
today.
That was a
pleasure.
blast.
Excellent.
You guys
Thank
are
you.
the best for having us on.
Thank
I
you.
love the format. You're just talking hockey.
Pretty open.
Well,
Pretty
thank
open. That's
you.
great.
I mean, I'm glad we sold lots of copies of your book last time. You're the reason I got a book deal, right?
Oh yeah, you're
Same
an
publisher.
author to be. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's
Did you hear Steve's writing a book?
Yeah, I did. hear
Steve's
that.
writing a book.
Yeah, I've heard that on the podcast.
he's
from time to time.
writing a book.
Broadcast.
So yeah,
There you go.
excited for that.
Is
So
it
spend
difficult?
money on Dennis's book
then save.
Yeah.
and then
And
save.
save.
Is it difficult? It's pretty hard.
Yeah.
It's it's funny. It's like how you were saying. It's easier to write stories that you were there for.
Yes.
It's what I'm really struggling with is when I was a kid, because you go, oh, I remember this, but you don't remember like key details.
Right,
It's a little fuzzy when
You
you're
gotta
7.
dig in the mind, right, for all those details.
So
yeah.
like I'm having to interview people about me and be like, what do you remember?
How great was I?
What was it like to be with the legend?
Great or the greatest? What would you rate me?
You got to
Anyway.
feel that way. Yeah, you got to feel
It's
that
hard,
way.
but I'm about a third of the way done.
Good for you. When's the due date?
April.
It's like a baby, right? When's your
great.
due date?
Yeah.
Deadline.
Well, it's supposed to be April, but
I'll tell you what, you're going to get more work done in March than any other month.
Yeah, but
Oh, I know.
I can tell you that.
And with the lead up to the playoffs too, that's going to be fun.
Oh
for
my
you.
God! I got so much done in the summer, and since the season began, screeching
Yeah,
halt. I gotta
I'm
figure
so
that
happy
out.
to say I'm not writing a book this winter. It's going to be nice.
It must be a nice break.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's a lot of work, but they say the two best days are the day you sign the book deal and the day the book comes out.
Yeah.
And I can say that's probably true. But of course, they didn't add in doing the Steve Dangle podcast.
Of course.
You just know he's gonna come back in 2 months. And
that.
I'm gonna be right. I'm writing 2 books right now. It's Dennis Maruk Part 2, The Fall of Rome, Hockey Card Stories Part 4.
After Open Heart.
I got a book called 3 Nights Only.
3 nights only.
You should do that. 2 games.
That's my honeymoon.
And he's having 2 more kids.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
After
right.
the
Got the
vasectomy.
kids. I got the kids in there too.
The book is The Unforgettable Story of Hockey's Forgotten 60-Goal Man, Dennis Maruk. You can pick it up on Amazon or
a lot of stores, yeah.
any lovely place where you can buy books.
That's right. Bookstores.
Bookstores.
They're all in there.
Or
Yeah.
iTunes, correct?
Yeah, it's on
Yeah, buy
iTunes as
iTunes
well.
too.
But buy the hard copy. Be old school, kids.
Yeah.
Hard copy's good, yeah.
Sorry, say hard copy again?
Hard copy. Did I
Not
say
the
it
hard copy?
Did I say it Maritimer way?
Yeah, a little bit.
Have I been drinking? My dog just comes out with a
I'll say
drinking.
hard
It's the double A, the
hard
Hard
copy.
copy off Burp.
Hard copy.
Jimmy's got your hard copy of it, bud. I followed him for it.
No.
Read a book, hack a dirt.
Yeah. Frig off. Give me the haircut.
Okay.
Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Brought to you by Panago Pizza. Order at panago.com and stuff your face with deliciousness.